Randall Hughes with God Glorified, commenting on our Bible reading for January the 30th from Exodus chapter 1 through Exodus chapter 3. And I believe we've got some exciting things coming up in this next series of readings. There's going to be some interesting things that we'll look at in regards to archaeology that we hope to share with you that I think is exciting. And we will look forward to sharing that. But first, we're going to look at some of the things that took place. The Egyptians afflicted the Israelites, and through the affliction, the Israelites prospered and multiplied and were stronger and were able to continue to grow in spite of Pharaoh's efforts, which is reminiscent to me of what happened in the New Testament in the book of Acts when persecution came against the church. God allowed the church to continue to prosper and to grow in spite of persecution. And so when the enemy comes against us, the Spirit of God raises up a standard against it. And so one of the things you want to remember, when the enemy's fighting you hard, just know God is still on your side and he is working for you and he will make a way somehow. And so some very exciting things that we can look at. And Pharaoh's daughter coming to find Moses after Moses' mom put him in the bulrushes in a basket. And interesting, the way she chose to hide him when she saw he was a goodly child. Now, I don't know what that truly means, because I don't know that there's been a parent anywhere that ever thought their child was not a goodly child. I'm blessed with two wonderful young men that God gave to me and my incredible wife, and he has just blessed my family and is so good to me. And so I don't know what that truly meant, other than she had a heart that says, I've got to save this child. And she tried to make a way. And Pharaoh's daughter found the baby and Miriam asked her if she would like her to find a nurse. And I'm sure it never crossed anyone's mind that the person they would get to nurse that baby would be the child's mother. I'm sure nobody ever thought that, but at any rate, there's some very interesting things there about the daughter of Pharaoh. And we'll look into some of the pharaohs as we go forward in some of our readings to try to tell you who we believe are some of the possibilities for the Pharaoh of the Exodus. And there's a Pharaoh's daughter that figures prominently in had a man that had risen through the ranks of nobody. And yet, if you understand the pharaohs and things, you know that they deemed themselves as deity, and so they would not interact. So somehow this man managed to be able to interact with Pharaoh and his daughter. She married, and her husband died young. She had only had daughters, but he had a son by another wife, and so the son became the Pharaoh. And we'll share more of this tomorrow, probably, as we get closer to the Pharaoh's interaction. The Pharaoh's not really become a part of the story, but the daughter is. And so there's some incredible things that took place, and how this seemingly no one became involved in the palace and in Pharaoh's courts and various things. Was a head engineer, had more titles than any one human being could ever fulfill, and then mysteriously disappeared. And it's possibly during a building project. He was an engineer, and the building that he was making ended up being the tomb for his mom, what we believe would have been his stepmom. And it had 12 colonnades, which when you get in the wilderness, there was something that Moses built, we'll mention it when we get there, that had 12 colonnades. And so it seems to match one of the last building projects that this man did in Egypt before he disappeared. And so anyway, neat stuff that we will try to share and try to keep it within reasonable time frame. And so there's something interesting. I don't know if you may not realize it, but in literary, there are various devices that will take place. I may have mentioned this back with Abraham's servant when he went to the well, and one of the daughters of the land came to the well, and he watered her, or actually in this case, she watered his camels and gave him to drink, and ended up that was the one that God had chosen through God's providence to bring Rebekah into the family of Abraham and Isaac. And then years later, Jacob goes to his uncle's house, Laban's, comes upon a well. Daughters of the land come out. Rachel is one of them, and he falls in love. Here we are in Exodus chapter 2, and after Moses has killed the Egyptian and discovered that it was a known thing and that Pharaoh then was searching for him, he fled to Midian and to the priest of Midian, who he met the daughters of at a well. And so it's something called scene setting. And so anyway, something to look forward to, because there will be a scene in the New Testament that is set at a well. And you're probably already thinking of it. But at any rate, we will talk about that more when we get there. So Moses waters them, and she came home early. And they said, how did you come home early? And they said, there was an Egyptian that helped us. And he's going, what did you do? Leave him at the well. Come and bring him home and give him something to eat. And so then God began to look on the children of Israel. Moses is born. The most incredible thing in this chapter to me is the I am that I am, and just some phenomenal truths behind the name of God. And it's I am that I am is a very unique name, and it is the way it is discussed there in the Bible, and this is going to be in the New English translation of the Bible. You go to bible.org.com and or netbible.org or bible.org, and you can find this footnote that I think is phenomenal. This Bible has close to 60,000 footnotes, and they're amazing. This was put together by many of the scholars that are at the Dallas Theological Seminary. It was put together during the time of Charles Swindoll as the president. And so when you say I am, when he says I am that I am, this is the verb form, the qual imperfect first person common singular of the verb to be. And it forms what's called a paronomasia with the name. So when God uses the verb to express his name, he used this form saying, I am. When his people refer to him as Yahweh, which is the third person masculine singular form of the same verb, they say he is. And so that's one of the incredible things about Exodus chapter 3. And so just the self-existing one is basically some of the meanings to the name. And so it's amazing. There's a revelation in the name. The revelation is that God is one. And it started with his revelation, with the revealing of his name. And so some great things to think about in the book of Exodus, and we will have more to share in the days ahead. So that concludes our comments for today, January the 30th, from Exodus chapter 1, 2, and 3. God bless you.